2022, Saracens regained the Premier 15's title after a Marley Packer masterclass. The Crusaders retained the Super Rugby title after an all-court performance by the whole gang, and Annick Hirard and Thomas Dirac got sacked by France. But in amongst Stephen Jongle's rounds of golf, this was a year in which some rugby was played by some people, and so to celebrate the best of that rugby, it's time for this, the Squid Rugby Team of the Year. And it's finally time. The big one, the big boys, the biggest players in the biggest year. It's the big front row of 2022. Cyril Bai may look like your mate's mate who's usually stoned and feels incredibly nostalgic for the Nintendo 64, but Cyril Bai also plays rugby like someone rolled the Beast in Greece and gave him one of those little power dots that powers up Pac-Man. Cyril Bai rivals Stephen Kitchoff as maybe the best scrummaging loosehead out there. He's a wrecking ball at scrum time that absolutely absorbs pressure and then sends it right back out tenfold, a very modern prop who can eat an opponent instead of just straight up smashing them, but he brings that raw power to the rest of his game as well. This Six Nations, Rugby Ward's Alan Dimmock shared a fascinating insight from the French coaching staff on Bai's game that stands up when you watch footage of him. Most teams want flankers accelerating off scrums to get to the next set for a phase at around 3 meters a second, but they're content that props, who are previously caught up, in such a battle, in such a kind of that's my analysis on a scrum, will only manage around 1.5 meters a second. They know they'll be slower to set into position for whatever the next play is. Cyril Bai, on the other hand, almost always finds position at 3 meters per second. He has the work rate, acceleration, and ability to get into shape of a flanker. And that stands up. How often do we see him working ruck and carrying immediately after scrums or after lifting in a line out? The average loosehead in this year's Six Nations carried or tackled once every 6 minutes. Cyril Bai handled the ball or smashed some twat once every 2.6 minutes. Bai impacts the game around him directly beyond what most modern props actually manage, as well as being a brilliant scrummager, having excellent hands and ability to score tries like this, just adding the icing on a cake that he will no doubt devour when he gets the munchies. Has so many tiny percentage points that add to France's overall game and got him into the 2022 Team of the Year. It's been a weird year for the All Blacks, 12 months where they've bounced in and out of form faster than Finn Russell on a pogo stick, and yet there's been one consistent in their best games and their worst. One thing that's remained the same no matter how the team around them were performing. Samisoni Takiaho has been outstanding. Maybe the production line of talent that used to leave world-class players down the back of the sofa waiting to be dug out until Steve Hansen was looking for the TV remote may be a little slower these days, but make no mistake, Takiaho is the real deal. The kind of old school All Black who was world class by his third start, dominating matches and making his impact felt in every aspect of the play. Takiaho scored a pretty remarkable 7 tries in 8 starts this year, which is phenomenal for a hooker. Japan, leaving the year, the only one of the opponents he started against that he didn't score a try against. The hooker ending the year as the All Blacks top try scorer in 2022. And they weren't all just peels off the back of them all. He's looked just as comfortable finishing a free-flowing move or powering over just when the All Black machine looked to have been stopped, as he is scoring the more conventional hooker method. Throw in an amazing ability to carry, underrated breakdown skills, a hell of an ability to hit, and a relentlessness that seems to never tire, and even the very stern competition he faced for the number 2 jumper in 2022 walks away casually, hands in the air, going, fair enough, you start. A monster, a machine, and a player with remarkable consistency. Takiaho is here to stay. Tighthead in 2022 was a 2-horse race, with 2 of this team's alumni a world apart from everyone else in the field. One in the men's game, and one in the women's game. But where Ty Furlong's services for rugby went pretty stratospheric this year, his knack for the ridiculous all seems slightly watered down when you've been watching Sarah Byrne. Sarah Byrne is a tight head prop who is best deployed by her team. Her coach decided this as an edge forward. Her pace is unbelievable, frequently outrunning international standard backs, and that just accentuates her ridiculous power. An impossibility to stop with even the smallest run-up. If you give her a 2-meter run-up, she's good as scoring. It's combined with also probably being the best scrummager in the women's game, granting England the set-piece domination that they rode all the way to a 30-game winning streak, her the standout player in most of those games. Also getting them a Six Nations title and getting them to a World Cup final. Things in that particular final may not have ended in just the way Byrne would have hoped, but nothing about that Black Ferns victory diminishes the way Sarah Byrne dominated World Rugby this year, including the Black Ferns at the scrum time in that final. Absolutely demolishing everyone, scoring tries from everywhere, a terrifying machine of very pacey death that won't stop laughing and smiling and being so upbeat and enjoying the whole thing until the moment the job is done. As for honourable mentions, Furlong goes absolutely without saying. He's just been really extremely good. But Daniele Fischetti very almost snuck into the team at loosehead as well. The Italian didn't quite get the plaudits he deserved this year, but he was unbelievable. He broke Gethin Jenkins' long-standing record for most tackles by a prop this Six Nations, and his performance against Wales was one of the best I've ever seen from a loosehead. Him getting a nudge at scrum time, but being a menace at the tackle area, chasing every kick, every loose ball, winning seemingly endless turnovers and getting so many jackal assists as well. He was just phenomenal. I can't overstate how good he was all Six Nations, all year for Italy, but particularly in that game against Wales. It was one of the best performances I've seen from a player, or it might be the best performance I saw from a player this year. I think it probably was. Much of that praise can also be applied to the USA's Hope Rogers, a murder merchant at scrum time, and with the ball in hand, she was also just as destructive, just as able to smash things, almost unarguably the USA's best player at the World Cup for a second tournament in a row. She was just brilliant. Oxenshea and Stephen Kitchoff shared the South African shirt and delivered equal amounts of pain to opposite numbers. Ellis Genge was brilliant for England, his best year in an England shirt, plus excellent for Leicester and Bristol. Ethan de Groot came of age and stood out for the All Blacks. Andrew Porter completed his transition to loosehead exceptionally, becoming a hell of a force for Ireland. Anasiswo Charlie smashed the shit out of everything in front of her South Africa. She was fantastic, really stood up, took it to the French pack and the English as well. And Giram Gorgashvili was an enormous menace for Georgia. At tight head, Thomas Francis suffered some injuries, but the Six Nations was quietly maybe the best form of his career. He's played exceptionally for the Ospreys as well. Franz Malherbe was back to his destructive best, and Kyle Sinclair likewise for England. Matthias Deitrus, enormous both in person and in Chile's qualifying campaign, a 22-stone secret weapon for Los Condores. Linda Doujgang and Donna Rose each demonstrated hellish power for Ireland and then Wales respectively, the scrum becoming Wales's real weapon at this World Cup, and Clara Joyeux ran countless demolition jobs for France. Hooker, on the other hand, could have gone to any one of quite a tight group behind Takiaho. Julien Montoya was exceptional for Argentina all year and brilliant for Leicester as well, almost retaining the shirt after last year. Julien Marchand, brilliant for France and Toulouse throughout the entire year once again. Emily Totosi for Canada scored seemingly infinite tries. She was just everywhere and at the back of every single maul seemingly. She was just one of Canada's real standout players in their excellent campaign. Her endless tries, something she shared with Amy Cocaine, who was utterly brilliant for the Red Roses. Dan Sheehan and Ronan Kelleher, great for Ireland, sharing that shirt, both of them being equally exceptional. Malcolm Marks, unreal when given a shot for South Africa, pound for pound exceptional in terms of what he was able to produce in the minutes he was given. And Gianmarco Lucchesi for Italy, very, very similar, flew under the radar a bit once again, but my god, he was great for Italy. That guy, very similar player to Malcolm Marks, and very, very good as well. Thank you for watching that. I want to firstly begin by acknowledging on yesterday's video I made one of the most egregious, ridiculous errors I've made. It's been a very long year. It's coming to the end of it. Bloody moments of the year was a nightmare to edit this. It's been a long haul getting through all of these. So instead of calling the Japan scrum half Megumi Abe by her name, I called her Shinzo Abe, who some people may remember was in the news for different reasons in 2022. As Cathal pointed out in the comments, had a slightly less good 2022. So I'm sorry about that. We'll be back for the second row tomorrow, looking at the locks of the year. Some of those will be locks. They'll be locked in. Never, I'm just going to go away. And I'll see you soon when hopefully I've slept. I haven't. I've actually recorded the last one before this one, but splitting the magic of the internet, I'm ruining now.
And the try is awarded